Welcome back to another review by Mega Train Lover. Today we're having a look at another locomotive which I got from the Rails of Sheffield eBay store, and it's another Bachmann model which I got for a really good price, similar to the E4 we looked at the other week. And you can probably tell from the picture of the box what locomotive this is, and you can tell that this is quite an old locomotive, although the tooling for it is still more or less exactly the same as it is 20 years ago when this particular one was released. Anyway, we're just going to bring the box up closer. You can probably tell from the picture that this is a Great Western 5600 class 062 tank engine. If you turn to the side, you can see there's a lot of stickers on there, but I've noticed a slight error. It says the number of this engine is 6671, which is incorrect. My one is 5658. So I assume the product code for this would not be 32- or -076DC. But it's fine, you know, it is a 5600, which is in BR lined green. That's correct. And it is a 5600. So yeah, except for apart from the number, all is fine on the box. But no bother, you know, at least it is the same kind of box that it would come in anyway. Anyway, a bit of history about the 5600s. So the 5600 locomotives were built by the Great Western Railway to the design of Charles Collett between 1924 and 1928, and in total there were 200 of them built. 150 of them were built at Swindon Works, of course the heart of the Great Western. The remaining 50 were built by Armstrong Whitworth up in Newcastle. These locomotives were built to replace several older designs on the South Wales coal and mineral traffic. So at the time of the grouping in 1923, the Great Western inherited loads and loads of different locomotives from the various different companies that used to operate the South Wales coal and mineral traffic, such as the Taff Vale, the Barry Railway, Port Vale, so on and so forth. So, you know, in order to standardise things, a lot of these locomotives were withdrawn from service and replaced with the 5600s. Even though they might have only been built about 10 or so years previously, they just basically came and replaced a lot. A few of them did work alongside the 5600s, but the majority of them were withdrawn. So as you can probably guess, these were built for South Wales mineral traffic. So they did work obviously those kinds of duties, very similar to the 280 tank engines, the 42s, the 5205s, and later the 72s. However, in the case of the 56s, in the 1930s there was a downturn in coal traffic in South Wales, so they were dispersed into other parts of the Great Western network. Withdrawals began in about 1962, obviously with the advent of dieselisation, and they were all withdrawn from service by 1965. A lot of the engines were scrapped. However, 9 of them have been preserved, 8 of which were saved from Barry Scrapyard in South Wales. The engines weren't given the nickname Taffy tanks, although Taffy is very much a derogatory term for someone who is Welsh, but these were given the nicknames, and it's stuck with them ever since. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the box to one side because the locomotive is not in the box, and as you can see there is a big massive sticker on the box saying DCC on board, which is pretty obvious what it means. So we're going to put the box to one side and have a look at the locomotive. Wow. Wow. Well, where do I start? Usual headlight fitted myself. Wow. Honestly, where do I begin? is, in spite of the fact that this is a 20-year-old tooling, it still very much holds its ground to this day. Obviously some of the features are a little bit outdated, but you know, if you do notice any, but you know, in my eyes it's still very much a quality model. Let's start at the front. It's got extremely characteristic Great Western appearance. It's got sprung buffers on all four corners of the locomotive. There's its number, which is 5658, and the shed code, which I'm just going to have a look. The shed code reads 84E, which I'm not entirely sure what that is, but you can have a quick Google search. So that is very, very nice. It's got the copper capped chimney, again typical of the Great Western. Also typical of the Great Western, the safety valve bonnet here, very, very typical, and the double whistles. One is the main whistle, the other one is what's known as a brake whistle. So when the driver pulls that, it lets the guard know in the brake van at the other end of the train to start applying the brakes. On the 56s, I always found this design very interesting, the way the very front of the smoke box kind of suspends above the running board, and it kind of sticks out. I always found that to be quite an interesting feature, but yeah, it's very, obviously, nonetheless, very, very characteristic of these engines. And you can tell where they've modelled where the front of the cylinders are, just beneath the smoke box, as you can see. You get all the lamp irons, so you get the two which I've already fitted lamps to. One on the buffer beam, another one here, and then you get two additional lamp irons. Two additional lamp irons, which is where they store spare lamps. You get a handrail running along both sides of the front of the boiler, and you obviously get the huge tanks which held loads of water. I'm not entirely sure how much exactly, but you know, as you can imagine, these used to work in South Wales, so they needed a lot of water to climb up the valleys. And yeah, you see you get the water filler caps. You get an additional handrail on the top of the boiler, typical Great Western tapered boiler, and you get the British Rail laid crest, and I love the livery, the beautiful BR Brunswick green with lining, absolutely beautiful. There's its number, 5658, in a typical Great Western font, number plate. You get the route availability code above. I love the wheel arrangement. As you can see, this is an 062, which is exactly the same as the E4 we looked at previously. And let's have a look at the cab. In fact, the cab roof on this engine is removable. So there we go. So we have a proper look at the cab, if it focuses, which it doesn't seem to want to, but anyway, you can clearly see the reverser handle on the right, the handbrake on the left, and you can see it's not painted, but there is quite a bit of detail on the back head. If we just come a bit closer, yeah, there you go, you can see there is a, yeah, I might need to show this with my phone. Yep, there you go. You can see there is quite a bit of detail on the back. Obviously it's not painted, so that is one of the details which isn't really up to modern standards, but nonetheless it does look quite nice. Let's put the cab roof back. I don't know if it's removable by default, but hey go. It's quite a nice feature, because you know, if I do decide to fit crew into it at a later date, then it's much easier to do so. You get the coal at the back, which looks all right, but could be better. But then again, 20 years old, so it's not too bad. You get the handrails on the back. You get the brake pipe, lamp irons, the lot, and you get the sand pipes as well on both sides, just behind the rear driving wheels, and you get ones for the front driving wheels as well. And yeah, so weight wise it is quite heavy. It's not a huge engine, but it is quite heavy. which is good because these were, these were built to haul coal trains. So, if you want to model a prototypical coal train with one of these, then weight is important. So yeah, all in all, for the price I paid for this, and despite the fact that it's 20 years old, I think it looks absolutely amazing. It's such a such a well detailed model. Yeah, nothing much else to say. I really like it detail wise. However, how does it run? Let's find out. So here we have the Bachmann Great Western 5600 on the track. And what we're going to do is we're going to select her number, which I've programmed for her, give her some power, and off she goes. And there she goes. Now, apart from the fact that she's quite noisy, she's running quite well. Obviously she does need just a bit more running in, which I have done so already, but maybe it's just because it's 20 years old. But, in all fairness, it's running quite well. Yeah, for a model of its age, particularly well actually. Anyway, let's get a few line side shots. So yeah, as you can see, quite a nice runner. So just to conclude this video, I definitely recommend her. You can get this engine at a good price, then definitely recommend it. It can be any livery, Great Western, BR Black, BR Green. Yeah. Overall, really nice model. Despite its age, and if you can get it at a good price, go for it, because it is a really nice model. Excellent detail, really nice performance. Yeah, not much to say really. Thanks very much for watching. I shall see you in the next video. Goodbye.